Hi, this is Paul Niven, and I'd like to welcome you to 450 Miles in 10 Minutes. One of the reasons I chose to set the book on the 101 is that it's a trip that I've made many times from my home here in San Diego up to San Francisco and back, and I just love it. I never tire of it. And so what I thought I would do in this video is share with you some of the sights and sounds that Rory and Sydney encounter on their trip down the 101 from San Francisco to San Diego. So I hope you enjoy it. And one of the reasons I can do 450 miles in about 10 minutes is that I'm actually starting a little bit south of San Francisco in Gilroy. And you can see we're coming up on Monterey Street, and that's where Rory and Sydney encounter the infamous Mr. Leather, and Rory finds out that Sydney is actually a strategy guru, so an important place to start. Beautiful hillside here. Of course, everywhere up and down the 101 you see scenes like this. I love this warehouse here coming up, just beautiful. And next we're going a little further down the 101. We're going to come to Salinas, California, which isn't really featured prominently in the book, but is very important to me, and I'll let you listen in on why that's the case. I'm here at the National Steinbeck Center in beautiful Salinas, California, and I'm a big fan of Steinbeck, and for those of you who read the book and are also fans, you might notice there are two references to John Steinbeck in the book. The first is a very direct quotation, but the second is more of an homage. So if you can find that, send me an email. And I can't guarantee there are any prizes, but you'll get my congratulations. I'm going in now. Can't wait. So I had a great time at the Steinbeck Center. That's me in front of Rocinante, the van that he used to drive around the country in 1960 with his dog Charlie. No video of anywhere in the world would be complete without cows on a hillside, so here they are, somewhere south of Salinas. And coming up now on Bradley, and I chose to include this because it sets up one of my favorite chapters in the book, which is called Pucker Up, in which Rory and Sydney ride the horses Buzz and Pucker, and Rory gets another strategy lesson from Sydney on horseback, even though it's a painful one with his saddle sores. This is Paso Robles, wine country, absolutely beautiful part of the 101. And this is Hearst Castle. If you've never been there, I highly recommend it. It's William Randolph Hearst's castle in Cambria, California. That was a brief cameo appearance from my wife there. Stunning scenery. Cambria is just up the coast, and you take Highway 46 west to get there. Here's some still pictures of Highway 46. Beautiful. I thought it was important to have at least one shot of the 101. There you go, getting on this recording. And you probably can't hear it, but I kind of revved the engine there of my rented Chrysler 300 going up this on-ramp. In the book, Rory drives a Mercedes C230, and I chose that because for a while I had a C230, and so I thought it was important that if I was going to write a book about two guys in a car, that I knew the car pretty well. So that's why I chose that. Moving down the coast now, we see we're coming up to Price Street in Pismo Beach, another favorite chapter of mine, the famous Bob's Mobile Mart, where Rory goes ballistic at the young clerk. I loved actually writing that. It was a lot of fun. This is Pismo Beach, and I think I took this video in November, so for those of you who don't live in California, here's what you're missing, a beautiful sunny day. And there's a scene in the book where Rory and Sydney have lunch at a little outdoor restaurant in Pismo Beach, and this is sort of what I had in mind, right, what you're seeing now, just something really casual. And this is, again, looking from the beach back to Pismo. Beautiful little town, one of my favorites along the coast. You see people were out enjoying the weather that day. I think you're going to see the pier here coming up, unless I miss my guess. Of course, Sydney knew exactly how long it was. I think it was 1,250 feet, I'm not sure. It's a picture of me, I don't know what I'm trying to prove there, in front of a... We'll just move on. This is Buellton, California, and a very important scene in the book. I don't know if you recognize that. This is the Days Inn in Buellton, where a lot of scenes from the movie Sideways were filmed. And that's important because, of course, Sydney demands that Rory make a really sudden stop here at the hotel so that he can get out and apparently take some pictures for his girlfriend. But Rory is pretty convinced that Sydney is actually a closet fan of Sideways and really wants to see the hotel for himself, although he won't admit it. And Sydney, in his ingenious way, turns the tables, as always, on Rory and turns that into a strategy lesson. So that's the Days Inn in Buellton. Pretty quiet the day we visited there. In fact, there was a maid cleaning up on one of those upper floors when we drove by. I bet she's pretty used to the attention of people taking video there. In the book, I described the fact that driving from Buellton south in the 101, it really changes. It's no longer really straight, but you've got these hairpin turns, and I think, Roy says that you no longer just steer, you have to actively drive, and that's the case here. You can see the road becomes pretty narrow with the big muscly rock walls on either side, and it's a fun drive because you actually do have to do a little bit more than steering. And coming up here on the left, there's the Gaviota Tunnel. That's referenced in the book. I think Sydney knows the length of that too, unless I missed my guess. And it's interesting in that you're driving along here, and you feel like you're in these shadows here, these big rock walls, and all of a sudden, boom, there's the ocean. And it's very much the case. You make a left turn, and now you're following the coast all the way down to Ventura. This is Santa Barbara, California. Beautiful little town for those of you who've never visited. We hit Santa Barbara that day around 5 o'clock, so it was rush hour, which is why we're going so slowly. And we zoomed into the hills a little bit here because, again, this was back in November, and there were some wildfires in the area, so we were looking for evidence of the fires, and fortunately we couldn't find anything, so that was good news. Santa Barbara is a beautiful town, one of my favorites along the coast. Another place, I could say this about everything you're seeing in this video. If you've never had a chance to visit, you should do it. There's actually a Santa Claus Lane in Santa Barbara. I have no idea why. I've never taken the exit, so I don't know what you would find down at the end there, but maybe some of you can tell me what's down there. I don't know if it's anything interesting or not. Now we're further south, we're into LA County now, and you can see there a little bit of the Getty Center that Rory and Sydney pass kind of frantically at that point because Rory's rushing to get Sydney to LAX to get him back to Denver because his dog Trevor has been hurt in an accident. And speaking of LAX, we're coming up on Century Boulevard now in Los Angeles, which is the off-ramp you take if you're coming south on the 101 to get to LA, and to LAX rather, and here we are at the airport. And I'm very familiar with Century Boulevard because although I live in San Diego, I fly out of LA a lot because I can get direct flights pretty much anywhere in the world. So I've made this trip many times to parking lot C, which is just up ahead here on Airport Boulevard. And just a little bit further up here, we're going to be coming to the famous LAX sign. And I included that because many years ago I had a very early morning flight out of LA. I think it was a 6 a.m. flight, and so I had to get to the airport, at 4 o'clock, some ridiculous hour. And I took a shuttle van. And I think the shuttle van driver, I don't know if he was asleep, I don't know if he was, there were other things going on in his life, but we got up here to the LAX sign that you're going to see in just a second here. It's just up on your left there. You can see the X now. And the morning we hit it, of course, as I said, it was about 4 a.m., so there was no traffic whatsoever. He hit this little turn here at about 50 miles an hour, and he spaced out. He didn't know whether he was going to arriving flights or departing, and so in a moment of complete indecision, he just smashed right into that sign, and we came to rest right under the X in LAX. So that was quite a dramatic arrival to LAX that morning. I'll never forget, too, because he asked us all in the van to sign a waiver saying it wasn't his fault. You can probably guess what I told him to do with that waiver. So now we're coming up on, there's one last sign of the LAX sign. Obviously very important to me. This is Terminal 4 in LAX, and this is where Rory drops off Sydney and says goodbye to him for the last time. And I think in the book I described the traffic around LAX as being like porridge. And you can see a little bit of an indication of that on this day that I was driving up there. Just lots of shuttle buses and hotel courtesy vans and taxis and passengers, of course. So LAX is a really busy place. Look at my windshield here. This is after 2 days of driving. Should have cleaned it for the video, but this is California traffic. For those of you who've never seen LA traffic, this is a Friday afternoon, and thank goodness my wife was with me so that we could take the HOV lanes here. You can see some of the traffic. Look at that. And that's, I was going to say any given Friday, but it's basically any day, any time of the day in Los Angeles. It's legendary for its traffic, and it certainly lives up to it. Well, we're coming to the end of our time together here. We're back, there you go, see we're in the San Diego County line. And so I think we're going to pass Basil Road and San Onofre State Beach pretty soon. And coming up to the end of our recording. And so I want to thank you for reading the book, or if you haven't read the book, thank you for listening, watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and hope you do enjoy the book if you get a chance to read it. And if you do, send me your thoughts. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again.